Yo, better run like it's the Krewe FC, the round table where the real heads be. Talking NFL, the game we adore, from the touchdowns to the legends and so much more. That fucking guy, he's got the stats on lock, dropping knowledge on the field, watching every block. Back and bleeding green, cheering loud and proud. In the sea of cheese, heads he's standing out the crowd. I can't hear with the looks and the smarts, breaking down the plays and he does it with heart. Then the stout, solid like the line. His takes are heavy, his vision's divine. Week by week we break the game down, from every big play to every new crown. Offense, defense, we cover it all, from the springtime draft to the winner's last call. It's not just a podcast, it's a fan's lifeline, connecting every moment from the vines to the side.
Hey, good morning, peeps. Welcome to the Krewe NFC Roundtable. This is our Wildcard Weekend edition. And Andy, congratulations, buddy.
Well, I think it should actually just be me on this show because, you know, your team has now been eliminated. Therefore, you should be eliminated.
Well, here, I'll eliminate myself. And why don't you give us a little synopsis of what happened last night?
Nah, I'm good. Oh, okay, cool. So what we actually have here with the Bears' victory is actually kind of like it just happened to be one of those things where it's kind of like bittersweet because you did have a few injuries that actually hit the Bears 31-27 come from behind victory against the Packers. So what you actually had T.J. Edwards, unfortunately, fracturing his fibula, and he'll be done for the rest of the season, the playoffs.
That's a shame. He was playing well,
you have
too.
Ozzy Trapillo. It was just kind of one of those freak type of things, really. But
I mean, that's a shame. He was playing really well for you guys, too.
You also have Ozzy Trapillo, who's the offensive tackle, who from the play that I remember seeing, he was kind of doing his thing, and the defender actually was able to get under his pads and kind of tip him over. And I don't know if he, in the midst of him tipping over, is how he ended up hurting himself. But basically, he's going to be out for the rest of the season as well. Hopefully, it's not going to be anything major. But, yeah. So you did have some good news. You know, Kyler Gordon, of course, made it back from his groin injury, as well as Braxton Jones. And so you did have a little bit of rust as far as like some of the Bears defense, because, you know, early on, of course, you had a lot of blown plays and things like that. And that first half was just absolutely abysmal for the Bears. You know, you had defense that were, and you would think that at this point in the season, you know, you're not going to have that many blown, you know, coverages and things like that. Guys were getting a little bit kind of confused. Who gets what?
Well, especially playing a team a third time. You know, I actually found it very shocking that it was like that in the first half. I mean, when the Bears drove that first drive, and that's been the Bears' problem, is like starting fast. And when you know, when they got, you know, even though they only got 3 on the board, they kind of showed right then and there. It's like, hey, we're ready to play. And so, that got me really nervous right from the get-go. But to see what happened in that first half, I was really shocked with how the Bears played it defensively, because I just would have figured you've already played them twice. You should know what they're doing. You should know their habits and stuff like that. But anyways, go on.
That's absolutely how it should have been. They should have been a little bit more apt to get Jordan Love running around in the backfield. You could have had a few guys who were covered who just simply weren't. And that's kind of been the thing with the Bears lately. You pretty much throw it down the middle, and they're going to, you know, because of that soft zone coverage and things like that, you're going to have that nice opening right in the middle that you're going to get chunk yardage and set yourself up for, you know, either a short yardage gain for first down or possibly even a scoring situation. And I think they kind of tightened that up a little bit, which unfortunately means, you know, your ends are going to be kind of open. And with Stevenson, you know, in there, and, you know, with Kyler Gordon, you know, making mistakes, you know, and a few other things, you actually had that opportunity for the Packers to actually move the ball quite a bit, and of course, you know, get an early lead, and eventually we had to, you know, claw back in order to be able to get the crushing victory.
Hey, Sidoris is here. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I missed about the first 2 minutes of the show here, so My computer crashed. I apologize. Real quick, Andy, I didn't understand the Bears' defensive philosophy going into the first half completely. You're running man coverage and not generating any pressure. You have a inside corner.
Sure. So let's just take that first part from part of the second part, that kind of thing. So one of the things that the Bears are going to have to look at in the offseason is going to be some sort of quarterback pressure situational type of deal, to where I don't know who they're going to have to be able to get, but Montez Sweat, unfortunately, is not necessarily doing what they brought him in to do. You have the other guy, Booker. He's done quite well. Now they can, for the most part, they can kind of sort of set those edges and stuff, and theoretically speaking, you don't have a quarterback that's going to be able to kind of scramble to the ends there, but there's no real quarterback pressure. And so that's going to be probably the only real thing that they're going to have to really work on, anything of major consequence. And then you just have a part here, part there.
Well, I mean, you're in man coverage the entire time. You're getting roasted you're playing into the boundary, and instead of positioning your corner to the inside shoulder of that receiver, you have them playing outside, leaving that whole inside open. And then you're on the opposite side playing the exact opposite. It's like their lines of communication seem to have been crossed that whole first half of the game. And I'm not sure what took so long to make the adjustment. But once you put your corners in a position to where they could play inside out, using the boundary as their 12th man, we get taught that since Pop Warner. Your boundary is your 12th man. You force someone out of the boundary, they can't come back in and touch the ball, right? The last two. Go ahead.
The last two losses that the Bears had, Minnesota and, of course, Detroit, and, of course, when they should have won out in San Francisco, you actually had a couple of things. One of the easiest ways for you to be able to actually move the ball, again, is to actually throw it in the middle. And so what the Bears try to do is take that middle out of a play, and so your ends are going to be each of the things. And that's where – so Jalen Johnson, of course, had a fairly okayish game for the most part. But then, again, you had Kyler Gordon, who was coming back, and some of the other ones who, for some reason, there was that thing.
I was waiting for Ryan Gosling to take his helmet off out there. That's how bad it was. You can call him to the sideline like remember the Titans. Gordon wasn't in position all game until, the last play of the game? I think he touched the ball. I mean, he's just not ready. He's not healthy. And putting someone in like that ruins your chemistry. Everyone preaches about chemistry in the offensive line. Chemistry in your defensive backfield is almost, if not just as important as that chemistry on your offensive line. Because I got to know what my inside man's doing, just like he's got to know what I'm doing. If I'm playing leverage, he's got to play the opposite. You've got to communicate. That's got to be something that they got to address before they go in again. They face either San Francisco again or the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm. So with that, if you want to be able to actually start with their offensive stuff, and that's how things congealed, the running game actually hasn't necessarily been as effective as even with Philadelphia. So, and then of course with Trapilo going down, that might end up being another little bit of a thing. But if they want to stay with the running game, they should stay with the running game. You have one of those things where you remember last year. Well, then our former defensive coordinator, Eberflus, he would actually run the ball the first 3 downs and get very little to no yardage. So if by chance he were going to go with a 4th down play, he would, of course, instead of throwing it, would go with another run. It is 4th and 137, but we're going to run the ball. One of those type of things. And so if you want to go to that point, because they know that at any point you can actually toss that ball downfield somewhere, that could conceivably, hopefully open up certain other things and stuff like that. And being aggressive, and what you had mentioned last night, Brian, being aggressive and going for it on 4th down, situationally, I think is probably one of the better things to do. However, if you're within your 30-yard line, if you're maybe a foot or two, I can see that.
Yeah.
That Bears offense reeked of desperation early. That's what that was. That wasn't aggressiveness. That was desperation.
No, that was aggressive. Because desperation would be one of those things where he's throwing the ball every down. If you're like a team that's actually like a second tier team, like for example, like a Buccaneers team. then you're going to have to throw the ball in order to be able to, hopefully, if anything, score any points at all, period.
Yeah, I just that was desperate. It reeked of desperation. You're telling your defense that you don't trust them to keep the offense out of the end zone, but we're going to put you in a compromised position anyway. That's what you're telling them. If you're not doing that because you're confident, they've already put the smack on you. You're doing that because we've got to keep that offense off the field. It had nothing to do with aggressiveness. That was desperation.
I think the read is not entirely accurate. It's a situational thing. So if you happen to be within the the 45, 50-yard line, something like that, even though you're on your side of the field, I can see going for it at that point. If you're within your 30-yard line, I don't know if it's necessarily one of those things where you're trying to set that pin or whatever the case is to say, hey, look, we're going to go for it every down. We should be able to at least get 1 to 3 yards, no problem. But again, situationally, I think that was probably not necessarily the best course. Eventually, further on in the game, and you did have that the attitude kind of come in a little bit that actually worked for the Bears in order to be able to say, look, you know what, this is our place. We're going to establish our line of scrimmage, and we're going to do what we want to do. And the second half, like I said, the first half was completely opposite. Coin flip in the second half, and that's where things get changed. Go second half. If you're going to go for it on fourth and 1 within your 30 or 35, I'd be like, no problem. If you're actually getting your rear ends handed to you at that particular moment, and you happen to do that, maybe you should punt it. But look what happened with McManus, missing several kicks, including an extra point. So
that extra point was huge.
Yeah, it was massive.
That changed the tide of the game.
Yep.
So that weather factor, of course, can actually do quite a few things, because if you're going to punt the ball and next thing you know it's going 90 degrees, east or west, you got a problem.
Yeah, let me ask you this before we get off of the whole Bears are the greatest team since, I don't know.
This is supposed to be all Bears all the time this hour.
Let me ask you this. Who's your player of the game offensively for your Chicago Bears?
It would probably end up having to be Loveland, just simply because he went 8 catches for 134 yards. But you got to look at the intangible. So if he's actually open, you have like DJ Moore, who's actually caught some important passes, including the game-winning, which ended up being the game-winning touchdown.
Again, you need to add that. Again, DJ Moore was the one that did it last time, and he did it again.
But then you also have Zacchaeus, who actually caught a few, key passes. You also had, Roman Duze, who caught a few key passes. So I don't know if I would necessarily have a player of the game per se, as maybe we'll say the players of the game. I'd probably give it more towards the secondary type players, like the ones mentioned.
Let me throw this at you. You being a lineman, you have to appreciate downfield blocking, or blocking on the edge, or setting up that edge for the rush, setting up that edge for the pass, chipping that defensive end. Loveland did it all last night. He was the only bright spot of that offense until 4 minutes in the third quarter. That was it. That was your offense. He was dominant. If he can play like that going forward, and they have that chemistry going forward, Bears are going to be a tough out. They really are. But if you have to rely on your tight end,
You remember, and we even talked about this, that the Bears' offense is actually predicated a lot on their tight ends.
Yeah.
So you're going to actually have your tight ends actually going to be your pressure release. You might have a running back out in the backfield that's going to be your pressure release, but then you also have your tight ends, who you're probably your secondary, if not your most important, which is going to open up a little bit more, in your 10 to 15 yard passing range, which is your Dunze, which is DJ Moore, which is your Burt, those guys and stuff like that are actually opening up the field, which would allow DeAndre Swift and even Monungai to be able to actually get 100+ yards a game each, just like in Philadelphia.
What I really appreciated about the Bears offense on that, basically the last drive, really, is how well their receivers and quarterback worked in scramble drill. Nobody stagnated. If If that quarterback was rolling, they're breaking across the field, rolling with the quarterback. They're not stagnating on their side of the field. And that's a team that wants to win. That's a team that's working together. Your offensive lineman, not one hold on that whole fourth, that whole drive, not one. And your quarterback is all over the place. He's scrambling. He's stepping up. He's rolling out. He's stepping back. He's throwing on the run. He's throwing in the air. That's good offense. I mean, it's not fundamentally sound per se, but doing all the things right in that moment, good football.
So you remember, of course, one of the things that made even like the old Packers, for example, a little hard for the Bears to beat was the fact that whenever you had their quarterback on the run, whether it be Aaron or whomever the case might be, you always had players that were going above and beyond. Oh, he's scrambling, therefore I have to break off of my route and do whatever I got to do to get open. You kind of seen that a little bit to a point. Did you notice that, like when even that 4th and 8, when as a matter of fact, I sent it when Caleb Williams did the whole jump man, pass thing and stuff like that, and that 4th and 8 turned into a very, very long, reception for Rome Odunze. Okay, so you had a couple of times when the players themselves were actually not necessarily breaking off their routes, and when Caleb Williams was trying to throw to a particular area, they weren't there. They zigged when he wanted them to zag, that kind of thing. And he was actually in the on the line. I don't know if you remember seeing this, but yelling at him and telling him, do this, pointing different directions and stuff like that. So the variations on the current offense. So when you can actually have variations of your current offense, that's where you get, like, for example, like the Green Bay and stuff like that in the past, when you had players breaking off their routes in order to be able to come in and actually save your quarterback from having to, drop it down or something like that by just throwing it away or taking the sack. And so now you have the Bears kind of going to, I don't want to say like a next level kind of a thing, but now that you actually have your regular offense down, for the most part, down packed, now you're going to be bumping it up a little bit. In this instance, do this. In this case, do that. Which is actually going to be a major plus. And the defense in and of itself is probably about an 80%. I'd probably give them like a 78 to 80% in the fact that they do give up a lot of yardage, a lot of bend and break. They do get the ball a lot. But then you also allow for chunk yardage when it's 4th and 8, 4th and 7, things of that nature, and you still allow a first down. You're not getting pressure on the quarterback. It's those tiny little things right there that can end up costing you, a Super Bowl visit as opposed to being a Super Bowl victor. You like how I kind of did that? Did it all on the fly. We got it. Utter brilliant. But real quick, you had Caleb Williams with 361 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions was absolutely him. The other one, I think, was one of those variations where if the receiver could have zagged instead of zigged, that would have been a little bit better.
Both those interceptions are on 4th down, though, right? In Green Bay territory.
Right.
So essentially that's a punt. I mean, you want points there, yes, but essentially that's a punt.
Yeah, but then you also had Jordan Love, who was at 323 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He didn't get any interception. I don't think he threw an interception, did he?
No, nope.
But he did, unfortunately, there was that miscue in the end zone at the very last play, so. So that could have been an interception. But all told, literally, you kind of look at that game in regards to halves. So if you want to go to the first half, you can go next door over here, and you can give you all the good news about the first half.
Yeah, it is. It was a tale of two halves for sure. It was like you guys took Todd Bowles the first half and then gave him to Green Bay the second.
One more year, baby. One more year.
Brian.
Yo.
Let's hear your take, I guess, on this game or whatever you got cooking in that busy little mind of yours.
Listen. Yeah, they played a great first half. Oh, it's about all I can say. There is. Let me get off the topic of this game, and let's just go to the team itself, and especially let's tie this one on to Coach Matt LaFleur. Yes, lots of talk after this game about his job status. And obviously we'll probably get into this later about the coaching carousel, which has gone nuts already. But I've been really wrapping my head about the season in general, not just last night, but the season in general. Last night was basically was the grand finale of the Packers season as a whole, because of the fact that what has gone on this whole season all happened last night. It was just another thing to add to the laundry list to this. Out of the 185 minutes and 10 seconds that the Packers and Bears played on the field this year in the 3 games, can anybody tell me how long the Bears had the lead?
7 minutes, 12 seconds.
You're pretty damn close. You're pretty damn close. 9 minutes, 38 seconds. And that was last night. That's not the first 2 games. The Bears didn't even have the lead at all. What does that tell you? Oh, let's keep going. Hey, Packers are up 10-0 against Cleveland with 9:34 left in the fourth quarter. What happened? They lost. Hey, the Packers tied the 30th ranked defense, Dallas, 40-40. Oh, by the way, the Bears defense ranked 29th. Hello, you were up 21-3 last night. Why did you take your foot off the damn gas pedal?
Did they take their foot off the gas pedal, or was adjustments made by Dennis Allen and his defense and finally went man over instead of putting his corners in susceptible positions?
It could be adjustments, but again, I've got this list here. It's even if it's adjustments, then LaFleur needs to be fired. He should have been fired on the tarmac at O'Hare Airport last night.
And I thought we could cram it up there for a yard and
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
I mean, look. What am I supposed to say about a team that you're literally dog walking them in the first half, and then you go in the second half and just be like, okay, we got this. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, even then, you would think you would run the ball more.
Right.
If you were trying to impose your will going into the second half of that game, like, we're up, we don't want to risk the injury, we don't want to put anyone in precarious positions, we're just going to run the ball. We're going to eat time off the clock and limit possessions.
Right. And here's the stat that proves that. 11 carries for 44 yards for Josh Jacobs in the first half. What did he do the second half? 8 rushes, 11 yards. Packers as a team, 23 rushes, 99 yards.
Yeah.
So you're meaning to tell me they ran the ball only 12 times in the second half?
Well, get this.
Basically.
Before halftime, they made a comment on the broadcast. Jacobs is on pace for 100 yards. What did he end the game with?
55.
Let that resonate for a while. I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you can take your foot off the gas as long as you're going to put it on their throat.
Right.
If you're going to run the ball and eat clock, limit possessions, put your defense on the field, limit their time on the field by shortening the game, I'm all for it. But when you're not playing, you're just not playing smart. I think LaFleur, he chose death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes. Like I said, I've got front to back. This is damning. It's like you had a 23-14 lead at Denver with 12:55 left in the third. You lost. Up 16-6 with 5:03 left in the fourth quarter at the Bears the first time. You lost. You were up 21-3, damn near close to the fourth quarter in Chicago in the wildcard game. You lost. This isn't on the players on the field. This is on the head coach.
Well,
so let me actually make this quick little point here, and I think it's more of the adjustments at halftime than anything, because if by chance you happen to be winning, 21-3, it's not so much about, keeping your foot on the gas kind of a thing. You eventually do have like an adjustment period, where your defense is going to be able to see what you're doing well, and actually put a clamp on that. For example, Josh Jacobs. You notice how they were actually not necessarily allowing, but he was getting chunk yardage in that first, quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden they tightened that down to almost nothing. So I don't know. Yeah, and that would be a coach's thing. You didn't implement the right changes whenever you had that opportunity to, and that's what I think really is really his detriment.
I mean, question: if you don't punt in a game, wouldn't you assume you win?
You would think
they're 0-3 this year.
Not in 2025, 2026.
How many times you going for it on fourth down? How many times you turning the ball over prior? That matters. I mean, punting the ball, yes. Punting the ball is not a great thing, but it's not a bad thing either. You can punt the ball to flip field position. You can punt the ball. It's not always a bad thing to punt. But looking at that game last night, you were in a position to win the game going into the, last minute and a half, minute 38, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You march down the field. Your quarterback gets you over the 50-yard line, and for some reason, he decides to take 18 seconds to throw a pass.
Yep.
18 seconds. Then you get a penalty. Takes 10 more seconds off the clock. You're down to 22 seconds.
Yep.
That's not on coaching.
Yes and no, because Matt LaFleur is your offensive coordinator as well. He's constantly in your ear. If he really, truly was coaching up Love, this wouldn't have happened. Like I said,
you would think with the history of these teams, you would have went through 2-minute scenario, 1-minute scenario throughout the week. Both sides of the ball should have done that. These games came down to what? A total of like 9 points, right?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the scores again, but yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah.
It's insane. And for them to be that tightly knit, that close every time, that tells me the NFC North is going to be that tightly knit, that close for a couple of years. You got two young quarterbacks, two very, very average defenses right now. Mm-hmm. Once they get healthy, who knows?
Right.
But it's going to be tough.
But once again, and that last drive, though, I mean, we've already made the point, but let's remake this point. McManus misses that extra point. If he makes that extra point, you're not trying for the touchdown at the end. You're just trying to get in a decent field goal range.
Right. You were in decent field goal range, but your kicker doesn't have the confidence to kick from there. Regardless.
Oh yeah. Let me bring this up because I want him gone. I want him gone last night. He has an 80% hit rate on field goals for the season. Great. He's perfect from 40 and in. Great. 40 plus 6 of 12. And he missed 2 extra points during the regular season, missed one last night. If you can't kick from over 40, you're gone.
Well, especially this day and age.
Yeah, exactly. Where you have guys who are, kicking like 85-yard field goals now. I mean, come on.
Listen, and like I said, I don't want to just continue to just. I have to get this off my chest, and then I'll shut my freaking mouth because, like I said, I'm just angry, right?
I get it.
Listen, I went through their whole schedule. They went 7-3-1 against non-playoff teams, including last night against playoff teams. They're 2-5. That kind of shows you what kind of team you are, right?
Andy, you okay? Sounds like you're referring up there.
Yeah, excuse me. I had some.
And you want me to make the case. I know everybody's saying, well, why would you fire a guy that wins games? Okay, yeah, great. He's 76-40-1. It's made the playoffs 6 out of 7 years. But let's just take the last 4 years. 37-30-1 in the last 4 years. 1 playoff win. The last 3 times he's been in the playoffs, wild card. Hasn't won the North since 2021. Hasn't had a home game at Lambeau since 2022.
Yeah.
If you are an organization that wants to win championships, this guy's gone. I don't care what his record says. It's what what kind of hardware you put in the trophy case.
Okay, let me ask you this before we send LaFleur packing and cram it in his
cramming up your cram hole, LaFleur.
But who's out there that you want?
Right.
But see, that's the $1 million question. Listen. I bet you this is segueing into what I think we're going to talk about next. Is with all these coaches that have been fired and all the jobs that are open up, I don't know if there's an actual person that can come in without having some sort of flaws. And I mean, I know Mike, you and I were talking about that. I wish we were recording it live, to be perfectly honest. It was a great conversation. I want to put this on now, but I don't know if there is that. And that's what, I would really have to think. I'd really have to sit there and look and evaluate. I don't know.
McCarthy's available. Wait,
no.
Well, look, you change gears, right? You leave LaFleur at the tarmac at O'Hare, wherever you want to leave him. So Tomlin becomes available if the Steelers lose this week or tonight, Monday night. Sorry. If Tomlin loses tonight and the Steelers like, okay, we need to win. We're not winning playoff games. You're a great regular season coach. You do have a Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. We're going to move on. Is Tomlin somebody you want to bring in?
I would bring – it would almost be like if I wanted to bring in Harbaugh. I mean, those two guys are more of a, I guess, structure-based coaches, like where you have a culture. You have a certain way you do things. So that's the thing. You also he'd have to bring in the right coordinator for the offense. He'd have to bring in the right coordinator for the defense. And that's what would be the $1 million question is if you get these guys, well, who's going to be the coordinators?
Right. And if you don't go an offensive-minded coach, look at the turmoil we're in Tampa. We can't – once we get a good offensive coordinator and he establishes himself as a good offensive coordinator, well, guess what? Somebody like the Bears is picking up good offensive coordinators and making them their head coach. Look at Detroit right now. I mean, They lost Ben Johnson, and what'd they do? They were not the team they were under Ben Johnson.
And they fired their OC after the season.
Right. So then you're in the either you pick the right guy and he's moving on, or you pick the wrong guy and you're moving on. So it's almost like you have to go with this NFL, the way it is designed and the way it's geared towards offense. You have to get an offensive-minded head coach, unless you get someone like Harbaugh, who's the CEO, who's not either side of the ball. Go ahead, Andy.
I can see Harbaugh. Harbaugh would be a pretty good choice, I think. But how about this? Matt Eberflus.
because he's weighted down with that timeout in his pocket still.
There you go. So he still has it. You can use it whenever you need it.
If he were to join Todd Bowles, they could bank all their timeouts in Tampa and save them for the next playoff run. I mean, that's going to be a disaster. I promise you.
It's interesting. Actually, you bring that up, Mike, because I know we haven't done a show in a couple weeks. I really wanted to know what the hell is going on in Tampa. Why is Bowles allowed to stay, but then they could fire basically 3/4 of the rest of the staff?
Well, I look at it this way. Maybe they were thinking of letting go of Todd Bowles, especially once the whole Harbaugh situation unraveled. But then you got Mike McDaniel, who's been let go, yada, yada, yada. But I was so pissed. I said, we need to move on from Bowles, need a new message, need a new direction, need an offensive-minded coach, right? I've been saying that for a couple weeks now. However, the current situation, the NFL coaching carousel, is so unbalanced, I guess you'd say. 1/4 of the league is now searching for a head coach. So to get the guy you want, to get the trophy coach, you have to have the ideal situation. Harbaugh wants to have control of the GM and player personnel. So basically, he's just Bill Belichick is what he wants. He wants to be Bill Belichick. He wants to control who you're getting, and what he's doing, right? So Bucks aren't going to do that. Jason Light has earned himself a little bit more rope. Granted, he hasn't gotten the edge the Bucks need. He hasn't done much depth-wise, but got him a Super Bowl. So he earns, you know what I mean? He earns that levity. However, now McDaniel's available. He's a good offensive mind. He might be strung out because he was in Miami too long, but he's a good offensive mind. And
well, Tua will do that to you, though.
Dude, McDaniel went looking like a church boy at 19 years old when he went to Miami. Now he's looking rough. He's
right,
and he's only 22.
He's really got some merit in him, guys.
Yeah,
but good offensive mind. So you put him with Todd Bowles, you buy another year, right? That's all you're getting. If McDaniel does well in Tampa, if he were to become the OC, he's going somewhere else. Would you take McDaniel in Green Bay? You
That's
give him a
tough.
quarterback like Love.
That's tough. I would probably say he'd be better than most in terms of offensive play callers and stuff like that. My concern is like with the whole Miami thing, and I know Miami that hasn't been a well-run organization for years now. Would I be a little apprehensive with it, just knowing his body of work down in Miami? Yes, but he's
known for having a great running game, a great offensive game plan revolving around the run and play action pass.
Right.
That sounds like it's the missing puzzle piece in Green Bay right now.
I would say, like, if you were to put a gun to my head and choose between him or somebody else, knowing the offensive structure of the Packers, I would probably lean towards McDaniel, to be perfectly honest.
Right
Just
on.
get yourself a hell of a defensive coordinator. That's all.
Good question. Even though you may or may not take McDaniels as your head coach in Green Bay, would he want to go to Green Bay? For a couple of reasons. Number one, he's used to a different type of snow. The point is,
well played.
Walk
Andy.
off right there.
the point is, he's not necessarily built for cold weather.
Yeah, but look at what happened in Miami. He went down there as a church boy, came out as a kingpin. He's going to go into Green Bay as an anorexic, come out as an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, look at my.
That dude's going to come out looking like Andy Reid.
He'd be like, no mas.
Man.
He'd be stuffed up for days.
And Andy doesn't really get to participate in this conversation since his team is great now that he's got Ben Johnson and a quarterback finally after 45 freaking years. But anyway,
great.
So
Yeah.
if you're a head coach in the or a head coach candidate in the NFL, what is your ideal location to go to? I mean, you've got Atlanta, Miami, Baltimore. I mean, those are the key. What about Stefanski in Cleveland's out too? I forgot about him. That's New York. Mm-hmm. Those are all places that you could end up. But where are you going?
Well, let's just do a theoretical here. Okay, let's add a few teams because you and I were discussing this earlier. Obviously, LaFleur's on the hot seat according to all reports. Mike Tomlin could be coaching his last game tomorrow night if Pittsburgh loses. There are talks in Philadelphia that Sirianni may be done if they lose to the Niners today. And we had a good discussion about that, but we all know Howie Roseman, he's not afraid to cut bait with somebody that's good to get something better.
What about Buffalo?
McDermott. I think if Josh Allen doesn't prove it now, I think McDermott's gone.
So go ahead, Andy. You can talk a little bit.
Let me ask you this.
That's enough.
You got Tomlin in Pittsburgh. You got LaFleur in Green Bay. Why don't they just trade coaches? Literally. Because you have Tomlin, who's actually, he's used to the cold weather. He's got a different type of philosophy completely. You also have LaFleur, who's actually used with Aaron if he decides to come back for another year. You actually have a pretty good situation right there if you do that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy though? Like, we don't want to let him go. Let's just trade.
Actually, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I reading an article by Rob Domofsky this morning, who's the Packers beat writer. He actually mentioned a trade.
Yeah.
To recoup a first-round pick to get LaFleur as a coach. It was like, holy crap.
Well, let's look at this scenario. I'm sorry to cut you off, but look at it this way. Who's the bread or the guy to go for, right? You got Chucky who's out there, got a Super Bowl. You have Harbaugh who's out there, got a Super Bowl. LaFleur goes out there, McDermott goes out there, Stefanski goes out there. There's 5 quality head coaches right there.
Well, you also, but you add McCarthy to it, because McCarthy, if you look at records, McCarthy's got one of the best overall records and has a Super Bowl too.
Okay.
So you have
now
to
you're looking at 10 spots with possibly 6 that we would say are established head coaches. Who's the trophy? Who's everyone going after?
Well, as of right now, in my opinion, in terms of vacant jobs, the best job to go to is Baltimore.
Okay.
So
you think Stefanski slides in there?
I think that's a distinct possibility. Stefanski, I just think the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns. We all know that. And I think Stefanski's a hell of a head coach. I think that would be a great fit there, to be honest.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. If you're a head coach, what actually are you looking for? So, you only have a certain amount. You have defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, even a guy in college and stuff like that can have some sort of success in the NFL. But if you're a head coach, an established head coach that has the pick of the litter, what are you looking for?
Cap space, draft picks, quarterback, and defensive standout. That would be where I'm going. What the deuce? What?
We should end it right now.
Whoa! End the show's over. Now. Gotta go.
End it right now.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
What's up, Mike?
He froze.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm here.
So
you're here. You're quick. Well, anyway,
we're discussing the head coaching carousel, so to speak.
I mean,
you could have a coaching change too, and an ownership, and a GM.
Well, I wanted to show up unlike Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. So playoff time.
Wow.
What he did there?
Jesus.
So
I got a question for you. If by chance you had a choice of getting rid of one of your players or trading, whatever the case is, would you want to keep Jordan Love, or do you want to keep Malik?
Oh, it's funny because it's like there was even talk when Love was hurt, when Malik Willis was playing. It's like, wait a minute, this guy has a running aspect to his game, and he looked good.
He'll end up in Miami.
I still think you keep Jordan Love because you're paying him $55 million, unfortunately. So
you could trade him.
I mean, you could. I mean, there's no listen. The policy, the GM up in Green Bay has made it known that he will be aggressive, and I mean he proved it with acquiring Micah Parsons, taking on the other head case Trevon Diggs, and he's made it known that he was not going to extend LaFleur before the season, and obviously he's thinking in his head, is LaFleur the right guy? Could there be a hypothetical that says, hey, maybe now I'm going to put my stamp on things. I'm going to fire the head coach. I'm going to fire Gutekunst, and I'm going to trade Jordan Love, and we're going to sign Malik Willis to a two-year deal.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, but I can also see you're going to have to keep Jordan Love because I don't know if it's apropos, but that is a lot of cheddar.
Yeah.
Who's gonna want to have that on their salary cap? For a player that's like
Oakland,
a team that's
Las
a
Vegas.
quarterback away.
Oh.
A team that's a quarterback away.
I don't know
Vegas
because
is in full rebuild mode. I think you take him. They take him on. They get rid of Crosby. They acquire draft picks. They get capital. That'd be,
If the Bears had Crosby, forget about it. But think about
trade. What about trading Jordan Love to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, but what if LaFleur goes to Pittsburgh?
That's true.
But anyway, so before we run out of time, I do want to cover just we can glance over this as much as you want. We can talk about it as long as you want, but the Panthers came out yesterday and looked like a team that did belong in the playoffs. They weren't a pushover. They look like a team that is just on the brink of being ready to compete. They are there. They're right there. They're a few pieces away.
How does that make you feel, though, as a division team?
It's not that I'm envious or that I guess I am a little envious because they're in a position now that they're growing, right? Their window is wide open. Whereas Tampa, it feels like if they keep Bowles, that window just keeps creeping. You got a young quarterback. Not that Baker's really old. Okay, he's not, but he's beat up. He gets beat up more than any quarterback, I think, in a long time because of the way he plays. He's reckless. He's not tall enough to see over the line of scrimmage, so he's got to put himself out of the pocket sometimes just to make the pass. And I'm all for Baker. I love Baker as a quarterback. I'm not saying get rid of him. But in Carolina, you have a young team. They're growing together as where Tampa seems to be on a team that's filtering people out, flowing new people in, and building as we go. Instead of, just shutting it down, let's completely rebuild. So, yeah, I guess I am a little envious of that, but I don't think they're that far ahead of Tampa in any way. I don't think they're that far ahead of anybody in that division.
So, can you imagine an NFC South team with a winning record or even a 500 record going to the playoffs? Can you imagine? Haven't had that in like generation.
I almost think like Bucks have done it multiple times in the last 5 years. It's weird. They actually won a Super Bowl in one of those seasons. It's kind of crazy. And
how'd that work out?
Did it their home field. And then the following year, they had the best record in the league. And then after that, Todd Bowles was like, "Oh, I suck." So, but anyway, that's where we're at.
How'd that end up for you? Now we're talking about it now where they went like what 3-75. You can't get more than 15 points on a game. You can't stop. You can't freaking stop a goal.
Again, and that's the issue we were talking about earlier. When you have a defensive head coach, your offensive philosophy, your offensive game plan, your offensive identity is always in flux. Tampa needs to go offensive. That's in my opinion.
I think by next year the Saints take over. The Bucks take over where the Saints are at. I do. I don't think you guys
done with stupidity here. This is nonsense. Get that crap out of here. What are you talking about? Who's this guy? He comes in at the last 15 minutes so he can take over. Seriously. That's the problem with the NFC South. All the teams are really close. No team is standing out. No team is pushing themselves to be the cream of the crop. It was the Bucks for a couple years. But even when they were on top with great record. It just got worse and worse. But anyway, back to Carolina. Yes, that's a team that's ready. That's a team that's on the brink. I don't think they're going to, come in next year and take the world over, but you can't tell me that they didn't belong there. You can't tell me that they didn't put up a fight against the Rams 34-31.
It was mediocre at best anyway.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a game. It really was.
Ben Cornett's kicking us back to Fire Bowls talk. But and he's not wrong. I mean, it's not everyone that's out of their opinion.
Eberflus is there for you.
But
with his timeout.
Oh my God.
But anyway,
if you bring in Matt Eberflus, your offense would be mediocre. However, your quarterback could be the Kyle Trask.
oh, rumors are Bucs might be interested in getting Jameis Winston back next season as the backup to Baker, which I would not be opposed to. But before we go any further, let's talk about this Eagles-Niners game.
Yes.
Andy, who would you rather face?
They're both relatively going to be relatively easy victories. So if you think about it like this, the Bears were actually able to control the line of scrimmage in Philadelphia because they just had that thing. San Francisco literally probably could have, should have, and would have lost that game if it went for, oh my goodness. So it's one of those things where it's a 50-50. I would probably personally say I can see San Francisco, but then I can also see Philadelphia. I would prefer Philadelphia for two reasons. Number one, because you're relatively close in proximity. You don't have that big old 5-hour flight back out to California. And because you've already faced them before, so you can actually game plan a little bit better. You faced them both, granted, but I think proximity-wise.
Wait, to call you out on that though, that San Francisco would fly to Chicago. Right. So why would that matter?
In that case, San Francisco.
They both would come to Chicago, right?
Yes.
Chicago is the number 2.
Chicago,
you have a home field game. My thing is this: if you're going to face a team, you would think you'd rather face a team that you've seen recent.
Yeah, we can do San Francisco for two reasons now. Number one, proximity.
Here we go.
No, number two, because of the fact that you actually have a warmer weather team coming to a cold weather. So I think it'd be an advantage for the Bears. So.
Bingo.
However, if they win in Philadelphia, does that weather come into factor? Now they have confidence playing in the cold. Now they're adjusted to it. I don't think they fly back to San Francisco if they win. I think they stay cold area, find a place to practice outside so they can stay acclimated to the temperatures.
Sure. So, but real quick, if you think about it like this, though. Huh?
Oh, he's right. Yeah, he's right.
Yep.
San Francisco would play. Yeah, so you don't have.
So you would get the Rams.
I was going to say something, but I was told not to interrupt the show again. So, but I just.
It's a real quick point, though. For all the San Francisco fans and stuff like that out there. San Francisco, in and of itself, is actually a mediocre team at best. Their quarterback is very, very mediocre. And if the Bears had the opportunity to actually play them, I think they would probably end up winning by at least a touchdown and a half this time around.
So, to Ben's point, they would play Seattle. So who would you rather face? Would you rather face the Eagles or would you rather face LA? I think we're looking at the same scenario. You have a cold weather team playing a hot weather team. You think you want?
Yeah, I'd say the Rams, because the Rams aren't necessarily they're a good team, but they're not necessarily as good as you think, or as everybody thinks. And they're like, they're predicted to win. Granted, Las Vegas controls the NFL. I mean, well, allegedly, has some influence on certain things, shall we say? But I have an inclination that I think the Bears would probably end up putting a damper on that because I think they would probably win. That would be a close game, similar like what we've had lately. It would probably end up being less than a touchdown, but it would be a victory for sure. Maybe a 4.5 point victory.
All right, let's get your predictions for today's game. Mike, who you got? Eagles, Niners.
Tie. I'm away. Eagles.
Why?
Third day.
Because I hate San Francisco more.
What? No way. No. You hate San Francisco more than you hate an NFC East opponent. Come on. Gary have anything to do with this?
I've said this for years. I hated him more. And yeah, it tipped the scales. It was about 50-50. And then I met Jerry. And it just tipped it to
right.
No, I don't. This is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Eagles with home field advantage end up pulling it out. So,
Brian, where are you leaning?
That's the only thing that's going to save it. I think is home field advantage. So,
I agree. I agree totally with you, Stout. I just think home field. You've got a team that's was battle tested last year when they won the Super Bowl. I don't think we've seen the best of the Eagles, and obviously with the Niners' defensive struggles, I just don't see the Niners coming in there and being world beaters. So,
I don't see Philly lighting it up on offense, but it's just one, I think it's home field, and then two, the cold weather. Those are the two reasons, basically. I think Philly ends up winning.
Eye candy Andy.
I would probably say Philadelphia for a couple of reasons. Cold weather, of course, is going to be a major factor. But because everybody is suckling on the 49er teat, that's one of the reasons why I don't particularly care for him. Because McCaffrey's he's not that. Purdy, he ain't that. He really isn't.
Well, I'm actually leaning San Francisco here. And not just to be a contrarian like I normally am, but if you have a team that can keep the Eagles having to have their quarterback play quarterback, you can beat them. Jalen Hurts he's a good quarterback, yes, but when he's forced to play quarterback and they're not able to run the ball well and they're not milking that clock and they're not controlling the pace of the game, they're a team that is very beatable. I think the Niners will hey, there you go, Ben. Niners need a solid pass rush.
Here, let's put that up on the screen here.
Niners need a solid pass rush to force Hurts to scramble, to force him to make decisions, to force him to be a mobile quarterback. He's good on the ground, but again, you take the quarterback aspect and put it on him to be a quarterback. I think you control that game. I think you control the game if you go up early. If I'm San Francisco, most teams would defer the opening kickoff. If they have a chance, I'm taking the ball and I'm making a statement. And then you control the pace of the game from there, make them play from behind. I think you really can win that game in Philadelphia.
Okay, if you say so, Mike.
I'm just saying.
Are you done talking nonsense?
Anyway, so we got 3 minutes left. I think we have a gambling edge here, so I'm going to kick it to Brian.
All right, let's make this quick. I'm going to do a little all-day parlay action today, just because I want to keep interested in the game. So this is what I'm playing. Ramondre Stevenson or Trayvon Henderson, anytime touchdown scorer. Quentin Johnson, 25 yards or more, alternate receiving yards. Josh Allen, 25 or more rushing yards. Josh Allen, 200 or more passing yards. Brock Purdy, 200 or more passing yards. And Saquon Barkley, 60 or more rushing yards, pays out at plus 848.
Damn. That's a lot of legs, brother.
And I thought we could cram it up there for a yard and
Cram it up your cram hole, Floyd.
So, Mike, I know you joined us late, but is there anything you want to add before we kick everyone out of here? I know you've been working like a dog, so
No, I don't got anything to add. I mean, if you could read down at the bottom what I put down here. I missed Jimmy.
He misses Jimmy Johnson.
The race car driver?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Gentlemen, we got about a minute and 20 seconds left. You guys got any closing thoughts? I can never say it. Never will be able to. Don't know why.
I got at least two different theories on why you can't say it.
Oh, jeez.
CT is one. I think we all have a touch of that.
Anyway, Ryan.
Yeah. Good luck, Andy.
Yeah, you're the only one left.
As it should be. You guys should.
Here, Ben's here. I want to show this last one here. Just popped up. That's interesting.
It could be, but
we'll see. We'll see.
All right. As always, I'd like to thank our wives and families for allowing us to come on here, be complete and total idiots, 1 hour every Sunday. And until next Sunday, good luck, Andy. We'll see you
Yes,
again.
sir.
Go Bears.
Yeah, this is what I think.
And I thought we could cram it up there for a yard and
Cram it up your cram hole.